Hey YouTube, my name is Kat Davald. I'm a 47-year-old birth mom to a 31-year-old who I have been in reunion with for a little over 3 years now. In 2018, I went home to Hungary. I'm Hungarian, full-blooded Hungarian. My mom and my dad are both Hungarian. My dad was born there. My mom was born here, but both of her parents are Hungarian. Everybody on that side of the family is Hungarian. My dad, everybody on that side is Hungarian. There's a little sprinkling of German in there and a little sprinkling of French, but that's very far back. So I'm full-blooded Hungarian. So I went home to see family with my mom in 2018, and my cousin on my dad's side was showing me all kinds of pictures and letters and the family tree that she had done and everything, and it gave me a renewed interest in doing mine. I had done mine previously, or started to. I had started to do my family tree. Oh God, I was in my 20s, I think I was. So I kind of got a renewed interest in it. And when I came home from Hungary from that trip, for some reason there was just a gut feeling that I needed to do my DNA. So I bought the kit. I bought an ancestry kit, and I spit in the tube and I sent it off. And while I was waiting, I was like, God, why did I spend that $100? I was kicking myself. I was like, this is so stupid. I know I'm Hungarian. I'm full-blooded. I know, like, all my family, I have my family tree on my dad's side back to like the 1700s. Same thing on my mom's side, on my paternal mom's side. So like I have so much information. I know who I am and where I come from. But there was just gut feeling that I needed to do my DNA. So I sent it off. So it was September 8th. And I was getting ready for work. I'm a former bartender. Little backup story. I'm a former bartender. I actually just left the restaurant industry, restaurant slash hotel industry, a couple of weeks ago. September 29th, I think, was my last day. So I just left it, and at that time I was still bartending. I was working at a Holiday Inn, and so I was getting ready to go to work, and I got a text. I got a text that my results were in. So I had like 5 minutes. I was all ready. I was like, all right, let me just log on real quick and see what it says. So I was like, okay, logged on. Yeah, like it was like 90% Hungarian. I was like, okay, well, that's a no-brainer. You know, I knew that that was going to happen. And then I clicked DNA matches. And there it was. It said parent-child. And like 3,300 some odd CMs or whatever, centimorgans, I think it's called. And for a second, I was like, oh my God, am I really adopted? Because my whole entire life, everybody would joke, oh, you don't look like anybody in the family, you're adopted, you're the milkman's baby. You know, everybody always says that to one of the kids, milkman, mailman, whatever. So for 30 seconds, I was like, oh my God. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, no. This is her. I found her. I found my daughter. And I couldn't believe it. And I went in and I looked at her, what is it called? A profile. No, like, well, there really wasn't any profile because she didn't put any on there. But like the user ID. The user ID that she used. So I memorized that, and I started to, you know, like Google that, you know, because people generally use the same user IDs for different platforms. So, you know, I was like, okay, maybe I can find something. And, I mean, and now mind you, this is all within 5 minutes to spare. So I started to Google and everything, and I found that her name was what her. So back up a little bit. She was renamed, as a lot of adoptees are. Their names are changed from what I had initially named her. But I knew what that name was. I knew her first name, I knew her middle name. And I found that. And her user ID had in the year of her birth. So I was like, okay, so that must be her last name. I'm not gonna like tell you what it is because then you're gonna go start stalking my daughter and stuff. But so I got that, and but I had to go to work. I had to leave it alone. So I went to work, and I remember, oh my God, the feeling was just, I wasn't there. I was, my head was in a completely different space. I don't I don't remember if it was that day or if it was the next day that I started to tell people. Like my mom, my sister, who I was still talking to at the time, and my friend Leanne, who was living with me. And she was in between apartments and she was just living with me temporarily for a few months. Um, I think it probably was the next day because it was just so weirded out and maybe nobody was home and stuff like that. But I remember going to work and this just, like, I wasn't in my body. I wasn't in my head. Like, none of it. So I got through the shift. I think I was like ignoring customers and just trying to Google her name, trying to see a picture. And it brought up like a Twitter picture. And you can't see Twitter pictures because they're so super tiny. So you can't really make out what the person actually looks like. And then there was some other fuzzy picture of her jumping in a girl's arms, another girl in her arm. I don't know. I, it was like a fun, happy time, but I didn't know who was who because I didn't know what she looked like. I had a closed adoption. So the last time I saw her, she was 3 days old, and I only got pictures when she was a year old, or maybe like 14 months. But I'll get to that in a whole nother video. Um, so I didn't know what she looked like. I didn't know anything about her. And then there was a newspaper article with her at some pizza place or something like that. But still, I mean, it's a newspaper article. You can't make out, you know, really what somebody looks like. And, then I, I think I just ended that shift in like a complete daze. And I came home and I was exhausted, like mentally, I was just exhausted and I just went to bed. But I remember waking up the next day and that's when I went to town on Google and I Googled everything about that username. I tried every which way. I found, there's a lot of public records. So one public record that came up was her voter registration. And okay, so it gave her first name, it gave her middle name, it gave her last name, so now I knew her last name, it gave her date of birth, so I was like, okay, well, this is her. I mean, I was denying it, even though it was DNA. I wasn't denying it, but my mind wasn't wrapping around it. And I remember this like it was yesterday, it was 3 years ago. And I remember, okay, so that's got to be her last name. So then I started to Google that. Maybe that's when all those pictures started to come up. So then, I'm seeing little pictures of her and I know that this is her and everything. That was a Friday that I got the results. So, I'm doing this on a Saturday and everything. Then I had to go to work again. I worked that night again. And I went to work and I remember I broke a bottle of Pinot Grigio that night. Full bottle, brand new bottle, dropped it. I remember breaking a wine glass and cutting myself because if you ever find your birth parent or your birth child, then you know exactly the feelings that I had. Because it's surreal. You just don't, and the whole thing is that I wasn't searching. This was all my gut feeling that I needed to do my DNA, that I needed to, do this for some reason. And by the way, it was the best $100 I ever spent in my whole entire life. Anyways, so I remember going to work that night and doing all that. I was a mess. I remember I was a mess, and then I started to tell people. And I think I think that was the day that I called my mom and my sister and my friend. I told my friend Leanne, and then I started telling people at work, and it was just like oohs and ahs and everything, because all the customers, you know they become your friends. When you're a bartender, the customers, they could become regulars and they start, you become friends with them. So I have a lot of customers who are my friends. So I remember just doing that. And when I had done my ancestry, I had put up a picture of myself. So there's a picture of me, and then if you've ever done ancestry, if you don't put a picture up, there's just like a little silhouette, and it's like a little pink silhouette for a girl and a little blue one for a boy. And so I have my picture up there with that, and I was just, I tried everything and anything, and I was just like dumbfounded. So I think I just kept on searching. Okay, I remember now. So on Ancestry, you can see when somebody's last checked their profile. And so I kept going in because she had recently checked it. So I could tell that she was, actively checking it. So she had recently checked it. So you can tell. So I kept going in every day, like 10, 12, 15, 20 times a day, checking to see if she had seen it. So that was Friday, Saturday. It wasn't until the next Wednesday that I went in to check if she had seen it, and she put a picture up. And I was like, oh my God. And I saw there was a picture of her and her daughter. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So I'm technically a grandma, it was weird. Like, it was just, and I saw her. I cannot tell you how, I don't want to say weird, but how relieved, in awe, like, to see what she looked like after 28 years, because mind you, this was 3 years ago, so after 28 years, it was the most amazing thing. I mean, she's freaking beautiful. And she hates when I say that, but she's freaking beautiful. I mean, comes from somewhere. Doesn't come from her father. Well, her birth father. Does not come from her birth father. But no, all jokes aside, it was just like, oh my God, she's there and she's alive. And that was a big thing for me, because for 28 years, well, 27 technically, because I got the pictures at a year old, I didn't know if she was dead or alive. I didn't know where she was or anything, and I didn't know, if she was okay, if she had any diseases, or if, anything happened to her, or, and that was the one thing that I always hoped and prayed for, was that she was healthy. That was one of the major things. I would stare at her picture and I would just say, please, just let her be healthy. So anyways, she put up a picture. And this whole time, I'm hemming and hawing, going back and forth to myself, is, should I reach out to her? Like, does she know she's adopted? Like, why would she do her DNA if she knew she was adopted? And at that point, I had not known anything about adoptees. Like, I hadn't done any research on, reunion or adoptees, how they feel, like, none of that. I hadn't done any of that. So I didn't know. So in my mind, I was like, does she know? Should I reach out to her? Like, I don't want to disturb her. This was the thing, is I don't want to disturb her. It was an overwhelming feeling of, I'm scared to disrupt her life. What if she doesn't know? What if she's happy? What if she doesn't want to know me? What if she doesn't care? So there was all of that. But when she put up that picture, it was kind of like she opened up the door a little bit to say, hey, I see your picture. Here's my picture. You can contact me. Because if she didn't do that, then I still probably would have hesitated. I probably would have eventually. But I went back to work. And I'm showing everybody, look, she put up a picture, this, that, and the third, and everything. And I'm still scared, I tell people. And a good friend of mine, she's a customer at the bar, Sandy. And I've told her this before, and I love her to death. But Sandy is the one that had a really deep conversation with me, and she's the one that convinced me to reach out to her. And she made me promise that I would do it by the 10th day. So, but I thought it was a Friday. I don't know, but it was like the 10th day. She's like, no, you've got to, reach out to her. Keep it short and sweet, and just, you have to reach out to her. This is what you need to do. You're the birth mother. You need to do that. And so she made me promise, and I did. And it was a very, short and sweet. It was 3 little paragraphs, and the first one, or 2, I don't know, it was short. But it was basically like, hey, this is really weird and surreal. I remember using that word. I can look it up and read it to you. Well, I might as well, so that you have something to go off of too. Because when you're reaching out to an adoptee, don't make it too long. Like, it's a lot. And I'm telling you this is the beginning. And it is a lot to process. 3 years in, and we've, built a nice groove and everything. But there's still, it's not easy. This isn't easy. Like, we're related. I gave birth to her, and, I'm her mother, and she's my daughter. But we're strangers. So there's a lot to, we're not strangers at this point, but, well, you know what I mean. There's a lot to process on both sides, regardless if you're searching or not. When you find that other person, it's a lot to process. And that's it. Like, from there, you might have had the chance to prepare yourself, but the other person might not have. But even still, even if you prepare yourself, it's a lot. So let me find the note that I sent to her. I'm lying. I'm just looking it up now. And she didn't use her date of birth. So I'm thinking about her email, because I know her email now. She uses her year of graduation. It's not like it makes a difference. Well, I just want to clarify. So, this is what I wrote to her. I said, hi, name. I'm not going to tell you her name. Because maybe one day she's going to come on here. I don't know. Maybe she's going to want to talk about it someday. I don't know. But I'm not going to give up her information. Okay? So, writing this note to you is very awkward and surreal, so please excuse me if it sounds that way as well. and I put a little colon with a parentheses to make a little smiley face to ease some tension. I said, I want to open up the lines of communication if that is what you're looking for. I am totally open to any form of contact you would like to have. My Facebook profile is totally public if you would like to look at that. And my email address is yada, yada, yada. Your smile seems like a genuinely happy smile, and I hope that is the case. I look forward to hearing from you. And I sent it Catherine, parentheses, Cat, because I go by Cat. And that was September 14th at 6:55 p.m. And I remember writing it and was like, was that too little? Should I put in the part about the smile? So I went, and I think it was a Friday, because Sandy had made me promise that by Friday I needed to write it. So no, it couldn't have been, because I used to work on Fridays. Anyways, I remember coming upstairs. My friend was living with me, and I said, this is what I wrote. Do you think that's good? Like, and she was like, yeah. I mean, short, sweet, to the point. Like, I gave her, and I'll go into this in further detail when I'm talking about contacting an adoptee, or birth parent, but more so an adoptee. I gave her a couple forms to contact me. Here, look at my Facebook. She can contact me through Facebook. She has my name now, so she could probably have looked me up on Instagram. But I, at that point, I didn't really use Instagram that much. I gave her my email address. You can also give your phone number. That was a little weird for me, and for her too, I think. Because we didn't even, we emailed, like literally long form email for 11 months before we moved to any kind of text or anything. I still don't have her phone number, and she doesn't have mine, because we use Facebook Messenger, and it's like, well, at this point, it's like, whatever. But anyways, let's go on. So I sent that, and then it was waiting, because God, it's just, there's so much to process. And it's, initially, it's a lot of happiness. So in the adoption reunion process, this time is called the honeymoon. From the time you find your adoptee or birth parent to when it starts to either even out or fall apart or something else. But when you're just initially like ecstatic, like, oh my God, we found each other. What do you look like? I need pictures. What do you do? What's your favorite color? Do you like soup? Like all kinds of craziness. You just want to know everything about them. Where do they live? Where do they go to school? How are they? How is college? I wanted to know everything. I'm a big question asker. She is not. So from there, we, like I said, okay, so I sent that on the 14th. She responded on the 22nd with just a short, message on Ancestry saying that, yeah, it's surreal, and who would have thought, and here's my email address, and that's where we took it from there. From there, I think I emailed her, and we started communication. It was crazy, and I have all the emails still. She'll probably think I'm crazy, but of course I'm gonna keep that, because it was the learning part. It was like, who is she? What is she like? What does she do? How did she like school? You know, does she have a family? Like, how is her adoptive family? Does she have siblings? Like, I had so many questions. I wanted pictures. I wanted to see, you know, I wanted to see everything about her. So we did that for 11 months, you know, and right off the bat, like, I think it was like the second letter she had sent me in. Um, you know, she asked all the hard questions and everything about the adoption and why I went that route, and it's a whole nother story. Um, and her father, and just all, like, yeah, medical, of course, medical. Everybody wants to know medical. Um, so, and then we just emailed, and it was generally usually like one email a month, but then they started to get long because we were like literally having a conversation in email form for 11 months, so that it got so long. One day she was finally like, just, you know, you can Facebook Messenger me, you know, and then we took it there, and then we've been there ever since. So yeah, that's how I reunited with my daughter. It was so it's October 12th today. It's you know, so yeah, that's how we found each other and started reunion. And from here, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna go into a lot. Um, Today on in my birth mom groups on Facebook, there's been a lot going on the past 2 days. I want to bring some of it up, you know, have a video about that. I mean, I have a notebook that I've been planning to do this channel for quite some time now. My goal was to start at the end of the summer, but things didn't go the way they planned and everything, and so I said, okay, tonight, doing it tonight. So this is the first video, and there's so much to talk about and to discuss and to share, so that everybody is aware. And I, you know, there's a lot of anger in adoption. And I'm not saying, well, I'm a little angry, yeah, but mine is more towards towards how it happened, and what happened, and the coercion, and my family, and a lot of that, which you'll find out. But there's a lot of anger from other birth moms. There is a lot of anger from adoptees. Um, you know, there's so many facets to adoption that are just wrong. That, you know, for one example, that the fact that once an adoptee becomes an adult, in some states they are still not able to get their original birth certificate. Like, why? Why? I would be angry too. Why? Why can't they? So what? You know, the mother, you know, signed something, but they didn't. Most of the time they didn't, especially when adoptions were happening back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which is referred to as the baby scoop era. And, you know, so there's all of that that I want to discuss. Oh, God, there's so much. What happened in Ireland? What happened in Australia? I mean, in England, in Canada. Oh, my God, there's so much. So, you know, adoption has a long way to go. Um, and some things have changed and everything, but well, we'll get into it another time. Um, so I guess I'm gonna end it here. My next video, um, I will probably talk about regret. Um, there's that was one of the big issues in my Facebook birth mom group over the past couple days. And I actually already wrote a lot about it that I wanted to discuss anyways. So that'll probably be my next video is regret and or not having regret or having a ton of regret and why it's okay to have regret and why it could be hurtful to say you don't have regret. So I'm gonna talk about regret in the next one, okay? So that is my story. I'm sorry it was a little long, but I'm gonna go from here and I'm just gonna rock it out. And you know, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want me to, you know, think about discussing, you know, put it down below in the comment section. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, because then I'll be able to do more content and everything. I guess that's it, YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.